Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is JJ Asgar, and I'm a developer advocate for the IBM Cloud. Today, I'll be working with a good friend of mine, who I'll bring in just a second, just to make sure that the video is working and all. Can I get a +1 or just say a hi in the chat to make sure that I'm coming out clear? And if so, I'll bring my guest in. Let's see here. Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, and I just lost my partner in crime. I'll wait for him to come in. Up there he is. And hello, Sean.
Hello, JJ.
How are you
doing? I'm pretty good, So, chilling out here in Berlin, I think I'm 8 hours in front of you? Sounds
about right. Yeah, sounds right. So.
But yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah.
So well, hold on. Before we go any farther, how about you introduce yourself to our audience, kind of tell you who you are, and I don't know, something neat that nobody else knows.
Oh, so put me on the spot there. Gee. I don't know. Well, I work for ZeroTier. Let's see, something that nobody knows. I'm at a loss. I tell everybody everything, like I don't really have anything that I can think of to say. Okay. So sorry about that. Should have warned me.
Fine by me. Awesome. Well, so okay, cool. Well, how about you just kind of give us a rundown? Like, first of all, what is ZeroTier?
Okay.
Unless you're going to do that in your slides, or like, what fun thing are we going to do? And I'm here to just kind of help direct. This is your show. And also, I got to say this: if you're watching and have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We are paying attention to it.
Cool. All right. Well, let's just get started then. I did make a little deck. It's mercifully short. If you've seen in my decks before, you'll know how they usually are. But here, yeah, let me bring that up real quick. So made a little deck here. Down at the bottom here, you'll see our contact information. We're at ZeroTier at all the things, right? So Twitter, GitHub, etc., right? And if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to contact us. We have a little landing page here, zerotier.com/IBM, with some links to some things. So yeah, feel free to visit us. But yeah, let's see here. Oh, geez, lock my screen already. Okay, here we go. So so real quick, I'm going to go through here. This is mostly for my benefit, so I can keep my head screwed on straight here. I'll be looking at this. But yeah, I'm going to say what is ZeroTier. We're going to play in the web UI for a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about infrastructure as code capabilities. We're going to talk about multi-cloud, right? We're going to talk about containers, and we're going to do some networking because it's a networking product. So ZeroTier. What is ZeroTier? Our mission is to directly connect the world's devices and enable a new era of decentralized computing, right? So what do we mean by that? Well, we broke the internet like 20 years ago or so, right? With the introduction of NAT devices, right? So the proliferation of NAT has created a centralized internet, and we're going to try to fix that, right? It just makes no sense that if you're standing next to someone at a party, right, and you want to send them a picture of a cute puppy, right, and you both take your phones out and you send them the cute puppy, that cute puppy has to bounce off of a data center somewhere, on the other side of the continent, and then back into the pocket of the person standing next to you. Computers shouldn't have to do that. They should be able to just communicate with each other directly and securely, and that's what we're trying to build, right? So what do we have here? So yeah, we have this buzzword now. It's zero trust networking. We're happy about that. Our project's about 8 years old, right? People started saying the zero trust thing about 2 years ago, right? So yeah, we plan on riding that marketing pony. But yeah, like what we have is a P2P mesh SD-WAN thing, right? It can do NAT traversal, right? So if you installed ZeroTier on your laptop, I install ZeroTier on my laptop. You're at home behind the NAT device. I'm at home behind the NAT device. Our devices can talk directly to each other on the fastest possible path, right? Every packet's encrypted, right? We have, support for multipath, right? So like, let's say you've got, you know, you're tethering off of your phone and you also have a Starlink or something, right? You can actually tell ZeroTier to pick the better path, right? And we have this kind of sophisticated rules engine, which I'll go into a little bit later, right? And to make this work, right, we have this kind of three-tier architecture, right? We host as a public service these things called root servers, right? Which I have slides about. We are currently selling as a SaaS, the node controller component of this. And with these two things, what you end up with is this kind of zero configuration experience, right? You just put ZeroTier on the thing, you give it a network address, and it just kind of works, right? Yeah. So, right. So, what does this let you actually do, right? We like to call ourselves a VPN alternative, right? Even though we do create virtual private networks, right? VPN's a loaded term, right? If you've ever had to set up a VPN, chances are pretty good that you now hate VPNs, right? If you've ever had to use a VPN, chances are pretty good that you now hate VPN. So we're totally not a VPN, but we're a VPN, right? But we do, any device, right? It doesn't matter if it's, like on-prem, if it's bare metal, if it's virtualized containers, right? Mobile IoT stuff. We're written in fast, efficient C++, right? So we're good running on, like some weird MIPS chip, like off in a closet somewhere that you forgot about for 5 years. We're going to work, right? Yeah, we have, all the bells and whistles. We got single sign-on, two-factor authentication, all that good stuff. My personal axe to grind is network infrastructure as code, which I'll show you a little bit about later. But yeah, like one of the things that kind of makes us unique is we have this Ethernet-based worldview, right? When you install ZeroTier, what you end up with is this virtual Ethernet interface on your operating system. And what that does is it lets like all protocols work, right? So not only, TCP, IP4, IP6, right? But also like, like you'd see your printers and your iTunes libraries and like your Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs and everything, right? You can do, like weird enterprise things, like, fiber channel over Ethernet and stuff, like exotic telco protocols, right? You can play Doom over IPX if you really wanted to, right? Like literally anything you can do with the Ethernet switch, you can do on top of the ZeroTier network.
Hey,
And that's
Sean.
pretty much it. Yeah.
So, real story here. I was on a plane back from KubeCon,
Yeah.
and I got ZeroTier working on my phone. I connected to my house, and I was able to take over the Alexa in my house and sent a
Yeah.
message to my family from the phone because
Cool.
it just worked. So.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, that's really kind of all I had in way of slides. I know you don't really like. Well, I have a few more. But yeah, like my plan was to immediately just go to the terminal and start angering the demo gods, right? Um,
Perfect.
so that's where we are. Thanks for looking at my slides. I know, I know you like slides, but yeah. So let's get the business here, right? So let's go to terminal. Actually, before we do the terminal work, let's go to the browser real quick.
Okay.
So I just want to kind of show you like kind of how easy this is, right? So let me log out. So when you visit, my.zerotier.com, this is what you see, right? You can log in, do your single sign-on against Google, GitHub, whatever. I'm going to just log in with my email address because,
Hunter 2.
yeah. It gives me a fresh, like kind of environment. Right. So this is what you see when you first log into ZeroTier, right? You can create a network, right? And then you're presented with this network ID and this randomly generated name, right? If you install ZeroTier, say on your laptop here, right? We have a curl bash, right? We have packages, right? I forgot to show you the downloads page, but I'm sure you can find it. But what you end up with is this ZeroTier tier CLI, CLI info, right? And what that is it's your zero tier identity, right? So when you install the zero tier package, it generates an encryption key like on your device, right?
Mhm.
And then this is the public half of that, right? So what I can do is I can say zero tier CLI join. I'm going to sudo this one. Join that. Oops. Oh,
You're
sorry.
trying to join yourself there.
Yeah, sorry. I'll do the network ID. Let's try the network
Give
ID.
yourself a handshake. And
Yes.
give yourself a handshake.
Okay.
Like, hey.
So yeah, we just joined the network there. And JJ, I'm going to send you this network ID in chat there. So there you go. So go ahead and join that, right? I'll switch back over to my web browser here. So what you see is, so you got to think of this as a virtual Ethernet switch, a zero tier network, right? So I have one, I can create as many as I want, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, right? But we'll just go, which one was it? Crazy Murray, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say, all right, and you'll see down here that I have these two unauthorized things. I know that this one's me, so I'll name me Somera. I'll name this one JJ. This is called JJ, and then I'll authorize them onto the thing, right?
Huzzah.
Yeah, and yeah, now we can talk to each other, right? So now JJ has an IP on this overlay network, right?
Mhm.
So if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see there's settings, right? Just by default, it kind of gives you like an auto assign, from this kind of like random range, right? So it picked 192.168.192 dot star, right? You can select a 10 dot, whatever you like. There's IPv6 settings and stuff. You can assign DNS servers, but we did none of that. I'm just going to ping JJ, right? So I'll go back over here and I'll say, actually, that's JJ. You running a web server or anything? You have a Mac, you
Yeah,
probably.
I'm running a little web server on port 8080, but we're not seeing your screen. We're just seeing the web browser.
Oh, sorry. Cool.
It's a port, slash ping.
Let's ping.
Yep.
There you go.
Yay!
So I'm talking to JJ's laptop from my laptop, right? We're both on residential, ISPs with, NAT devices, right? So normally we shouldn't be able to talk to each other like this, right? So like, if I wanted to like, share a folder with him from my laptop, he'd be able to see it, right? If I wanted to share my iTunes library or something like that, he'd be able to see it. Yeah,
Hey, Sean.
that's the yeah,
Sean, we got a question.
yeah.
What kind of bandwidth and CPU overhead does ZeroTier have? What real-world speeds can I expect if connected directly between two 1 gigabit links over the internet?
You'll saturate your 1 gigabit link for sure. It has an overhead similar to IPsec, right? I can go into this a little more. I do have a slide, I think, with this on it, but I can show you the zero tier self test later. That'll show you that. But we can achieve, I think it's up to 4 gigabits on a Mac, right?
Damn, right.
We'll be improving this. We're going to upgrade things. We're going to upgrade our crypto in the next major release. But yeah, so it's similar to IPsec. So
Thank you.
so yeah, cool. So that's that. And then it's that easy, right? And then we have, if you scroll down a little bit here, we have these flow control rules here, which
sorry, Sean, got another question.
Yeah.
It's significantly longer.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been using ZT for several years, and it's just great. Can you talk about ZeroTier's one central servers do? I'm interested in what types of packets are being sent to ZT public servers. In a typical case, 2 hosts on the same ZT network, 2 hosts on the same ZT network behind different NAT home routers connected over the internet. Thanks.
Okay. Well, here, let me go back to my slide deck then. Transition. Right. So here is my artist's rendition of how ZeroTier works. Right. So what we do is we virtualize at VL1 and VL2 ish of the OSI model, right? So if you look at Alice and Bob here, right, What we have is in the yellow is stuff that we don't have control over, right? So on your home residential ISP, right? Like we can't control like what you're getting from the coffee shop or whatever, right? So I gave Alice and Bob the same actual IP address on their computer from their local DHCP network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing that what Alice does when she turns on is she tries to get out to these root servers here. So we host on the internet, geographically distributed these root servers, right? And her zero-tier address, her public half of her crypto key, right, ends up being registered in those root servers, right? So we can see the IP that she's coming from when she exits her NAT, right? So if you were to go to, let me go back to my terminal. If I was to say, curl canhasip.com, right? Control-4, right? So ZeroTier CLI info, right? So this IP here and this address here, right, are registered on the root servers here, right? So when Bob wants to talk to Alice, right, he asks the root servers like, "Hey, where is Alice?" Right? Then what they can do is they can set up a peer-to-peer connection using UDP hole punching through their NAT devices, right? So yeah, so no traffic ever actually runs through zero-tier hosted service unless these NAT devices are so broken or the network conditions are so broken that Alice and Bob cannot set up that connection. In that case, they will bounce off of the roots, right? But other than that, it's just peer-to-peer, right? If you're on the same network, right? So let's say Alice was to get in the airplane, right? Fly across the clouds, right? And over to Bob's place, right? And plug into the same network, right? And now they have, they're on the same network, but they're still on zero-tier networks and they're communicating over that. They're never leaving that network then, right? They're just going peer-to-peer on the local network and they're not even exiting the NAT device, right? So yeah, like if you had a data center, right, and you were to like install zero-tier on all the servers in your server rack or whatever, it would just never leave the rack, right? They would talk to each other that way, right?
Nice.
So yeah. But yeah, so Alice and Bob can now talk to each other. Something subtle here is like, so we're talking VL1, right? So layer 1 of the OSI model is like the tin cannon strings layer of the internet, right? So that's Ethernet cables and like radio waves, right? So that setting up that kind of connection, like with this peer-to-peer network, is really all that does, right? We're literally just getting packets to each other, right? And if you look at the addresses here, right? So ALL1C34, right? That's a 40-bit address, right? MAC addresses are 48 bits long, right? So we can actually encode the zero-tier. Let me transition back over here. Let's go to Crazy Murray. So when JJ joined this network here, right, this MAC address, I'm going to transition to the browser. I need to get one of those boxes with the button, JJ.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So JJ's identity here, right, has a predictable MAC address, right? So when I transition back over here to the VL2 slide, right? So VL1 just sets up the connection. It's a peer-to-peer network. VL2 you can kind of think of as like VXLAN, right? So in VL2 you have this overlay IP, right? So let's say 10.9 to 8.7, right? Alice gets on the airplane, right? She joins the Wi-Fi from the airplane. Her overlay IP has not changed, right? So if Bob's pinging Alice from her apartment, she gets on the airplane and joins the Wi-Fi there, the ping resumes, right? She gets off the airplane, goes to the coffee shop on the way to Bob's, joins the Wi-Fi there, the ping resumes, right? So as long as she has internet connectivity, her IP address on the zero-tier network does not change, right? Her MAC address stays the same on the zero-tier network, right? And Bob is allowed to ping her, right? And then from the view of the VL2 network, it just works exactly like Ethernet would, right? So if she's got this IP and she says, hey, she sends out an ARP, right? It says who's got this IP address, right? ZeroTier can do its magic, right? And Bob's your uncle, right?
Nice.
Yeah. And the node controller part actually operates on VL2, right? So when you send down those settings like that we looked at in the web UI with like the sitters and the routes and stuff. Let me switch back over to the browser real quick. Transition, right? That all works on VL2. So let's say I wanted to change our IP addresses. Let's say I wanted to renumber the network, right? I wanted to change from this 192 thing. I want to change
put
to
a Jira ticket in for that.
Yeah, put a Jira ticket in. So I want to change from the 192 address for some reason to 10.242, right? My favorite one. Yeah, and you look over here and you'll see, yep, there we go. We now have these IP addresses, right? And I can actually delete. Whoa. Yeah. So if I was to look at my interfaces here, so if config, yeah. So now I have a 10.242 address instead of a 192 address, right? Yeah. So all that works on VL2.
Hey, Sean, got another question? This sounds very interesting, and this is new to me, so I'm sorry if this is a bad question.
Please.
But possibly, is it possible to run ZeroTier on the router? So instead of every host having it peer-to-peer between them, not in a lot of individual tunnels, you can run it on a local network and remote into a router. The router could just be a Linux VM. It doesn't have to be a dedicated appliance.
Absolutely, and I was planning on showing that off later in the demo. But yeah, routers are devices too, right? Just you know what I mean. Not only can you install it on a router, so like, let's say you had a Linux box, right? Let's say you had 2 NICs in it, right? You installed ZeroTier on it. Yeah, just turn the box into a router, enable IP forwarding, right? And set up, your IP masquerade on your device with the default route, right? And suddenly it's a router. What you can do then is send traffic to it. You can actually send down routes here. So if I wanted to say add route, right? If I wanted to send a default route of 0.0.0.0, right, /0, I could send it through, whatever JJ's IP is, right? And it wouldn't work because JJ's laptop's not configured as a router, right? But yeah, like again, think back to like, day 2 of networking class, right? 20 years ago, right? Like it's if you know enough networking to get like an NT4 MCSE, right? You have mastered ZeroTier, right? Like,
oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome. Like seriously, like it's there's really not much more to it other than, you know what I mean? Like here, let me clean up these networks here. Actually, you don't need to watch me do that. I'll transition over to something more interesting. Yeah, so VL1 and VL2, right? Peer-to-peer network sets up the connection between the devices, right? And then VL2 acts as a VXLAN, right? And yeah, that's it. The addressing scheme enables us to send less packets, right? Because like we have the MAC addresses encoded into identities and stuff. IPv6 gets crazy. Let me spin up this lab while I'm talking real quick, just so I have that handled. So right. So if you look, I'm going to transition back to the web browser again. Sorry. If you go to docs.zerotier.com, right, and you look down here at Terraform, right, you will find this thing called the Terraform Multi-Cloud Quick Start. That's what I'm going to spin up right now. So I'm going to go to source, ZeroTier on my laptop, Terraform, Multi-Cloud Quick Start. Right.
While that's going, Sean, another question. Is there a way to have the same, is there a way to have some policy based on IP? For example, if I want 10.1.1 to address only my DMZ servers while 10.1.2, which is my super admin, can access everything else. That's a flow rules, right?
Flow rules.
Yeah. Yep. Or net flow rules or something. No?
Yep. Let me demonstrate the flow rules here. Let me get this lab spun up real quick. Because I like to do live demos and
yes, Sean is messing with Terraform right now, and he does this. This actually does work. It does. Just saying. Nothing behind the scenes.
Nothing up my sleeve. So I'm going to say Terraform init Terraform plan, Terraform apply, auto approve. Can't type today. Where's my O?
Because I'm
German
watching.
keyboard. Okay. All right. So I'll go back over here and I'll clean up these networks that I frantically clicked into existence. I drank too much coffee before the before the thing. Trying to make sure I was awake. I kind of overdid it a little bit. Let's
So
see.
yeah, that's IBM. That's AWS. I see OCI. I see Cloud. What else do I
Yeah.
see in there? Azure, Vultr.
OCI
Wow,
is
this.
Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Yeah. So we did this integration with Terraform. So Terraform, for those that aren't aware, is infrastructure as code tool, right? It has drivers for pretty much all the clouds you can think of, right? Right. So Amazon, Google Compute Engine, right? They're different APIs, right? IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Equinix, right? There's a provider for all of them, right? So what I did was here. Let me actually just transition back to my web browser here. Yeah. So if you go to GitHub, right there, you can find it there. The multi-cloud quick start. Yeah, so it accompanies the doc site, right? So if you go to the doc site, you read the tutorial, right? It walks you through checking out this repo, right? The hard part about going through this repo is the fact that you actually have to make an account on all these clouds and gather the credentials, right? And feed them to Terraform. So it's a kind of a high bar of entry to get started. There's also this Terraform Quick Start, which only requires zero-tier credentials. So that's way easier to get through. So if you're a zero-tier user that's new to Terraform, start here, right? And then you get your kind of feet wet with Terraform, right? If you're a Terraform user that's new to zero-tier, this is the one you're looking for, right? Because what this does is it shows you how to kind of like create a zero-tier network with Terraform, right? So anything you can do in the web UI, right, you can do as code, right, from Terraform. We plan to expand that, to other infrastructure as code tools such as Ansible, right? But we haven't yet, right? But what we can do is when I said create network, right, that's what this code's here doing, right? So I'm making a network called Demo Lab, right? I'm specifying the IPv6 settings, right? I'm giving it, the network that I want, right? And I'm like joining some members to it here, right? Then what I'm doing is I'm going through and there's if you look in the repo, there's a module for all these clouds. So I think the hardest part about using Terraform is like figuring out what to make it do. If you've ever used AWS, right, you know that you can't just make a virtual machine. You can't, right? Instead, what you have to do is you have to create a VPC and then a subnet and an internet gateway and a route table. And you have to associate that route table to the thing, right? And then you have to add a route, one for IPv4, one IPv6, right? You have to do like, there's a whole pile of things here before you can actually, make your instance, right? So what this is each one of these clouds, right? It's the bare minimum amount of things that you have to do to get an instance on the internet, right? And then it firewalls it down to only use UDP 993, right? So you can't talk to it except for zero-tier, right? Oh no, what happened there? Provisioning time limit exceeded on Equinix. Jesus. Okay, Equinix. False. So much for you. Let's try that again. All right. So there's AWS, right? If you go to, Azure, right? It's the same, the bare minimum amount of Terraform golf that you need to get a machine onto the thing, right? IBM, right? This is kind of how I ended up on here, right? So the bare minimum amount of things that you need to bring up a virtual machine on IBM Cloud, right, is create a VPC, right? You have this address prefix thing, a public gateway, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, and what all these share is this boot script, right? So you inject this kind of rendered script into the thing, right? And it does things like sets the host name, um, adjusts some IP tables rules, right? It writes the zero tier identity, right? And then it installs zero tier with the curl bash, right? It
Yay.
joins the network that it creates, right? So yeah, so with a click of a button, I'm going to end up with this lab, right? Let's see what's going on with my terminal over here. I really should have spun this lab up before, shouldn't I?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, the magic of live demos. But yeah, so that we got that, and when that comes up, what I'll have here, let me go back to my terminal. What I'll have is a bunch of machines that I can log into, and I can actually, look at some interfaces and ping some machines and do some networking, right? There we go. Come on. All right, cool. So I have this demo lab thing here, right? So let me go over here. Cool. So I can say ZeroTier CLI. I'm going to join this network, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the boot script, one of the things that I did was I installed ZeroNST, which is our DNS server, right?
Okay.
And we can look at that a little bit. But I installed that in this machine here. So if I say ZeroTier CLI allow DNS, right? What I can do now, Terraform output. You can just do the GUI too, but I like to stay on the command line. Terraform output.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, I could just scroll up. There it is. All right, cool. So now I have a DNS record. Actually, let's go over to the real quick to the browser transition. Okay, so ZeroTier Central now has my one network called Demo Lab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going in here and manually doing all these settings, right, and manually doing this and manually joining all these things, I can just do this programmatically, right? But what I have here is a list of my members on the network, one on Microsoft Azure, one on IBM Cloud, one on Oracle. But I can actually, instead of going to their IP addresses, I can access them through DNS, right? So if I was to transition back here, now is to say, okay, let's do SSH DigitalOcean.demo.lab, right? Boom. I'm now in my DigitalOcean box, right?
Nice.
IP link. Yeah. And you'll see here that I have this interface here, which is my ZeroTier interface, right? And likewise, if I was to log into aws.demo.lab here, right? Say IP link, you'll see that I have the same interface. It's the same name, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a predictable name based upon the network name, right? You go over here, SSH IBM.demo.lab, right? Cool. So yeah, let's look at some packets, right? So let's see here. Where am I? Okay, so let's go back over to DigitalOcean and we'll start my key shark here. Oops. Cool. So I'm now running T-Shark on my DigitalOcean box, which is hosting my DNS server, right? So if I was to go over here to my IBM machine, I could say ping, let's do IPv4. Let's do one packet to, I don't know, pick a cloud, any cloud.
Oracle.
Oracle Cloud Infrastructure.demo.lab, right? You would see the DNS query, right? Because these are dual stack, they're coming over IPv6, right? but I could actually, dig at the IPv4 address of the thing and it would totally work, right? Yeah. I can, what else can I do? Let's see here. I know. Let's transition back to my web browser. Let's go back to my Terraform multi-cloud quick start. And we'll go down to the part where I can copy and paste. All right. Oh, by the way, if you're going to go through this quick start, here's the full list of environment variables that you need to collect, right? So you need to go into ZeroTier Central and, get a token. Here's a DigitalOcean token. Here's your AWS things, GCP, right? So yeah, it takes a little bit of doing, but I believe in you. I think you can do this with enough brute force and willpower. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm running web servers on these machines, right? So if I was to, I'm doing my TCP dump in DigitalOcean, right? So if I was to say http://do demo.lab, right? You'll see that there is indeed some HTTP traffic coming through there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I came to this website to get this, right? So ping all the boxing, right? So for okay. So from IBM, right? Jesus.
I think you got to go to a more copy paste.
The whole web page.
Yep. Yeah, hit the little copy button. That's what it's there for.
There we go. Well, it also. There we go.
And bring your terminal back up. Bring your terminal back up.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I definitely need to get one of those boxes. Right. So, yeah, let's ping all the things. ARP-A pipe grep demo. Yep. So there we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Wait, it should be more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, plus IBM is 8. Plus Equinix is gone, right? So it would have been 9. But yeah, so we've got all these different cloud providers, right? Just all looking, feeling, smelling like they're on the same Ethernet switch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Ooh, one fun thing real quick. Let me show you this. So let's quick out of that. Which one did I do? Let's see here. Main. So just as an example for the flow control rules, right? What I did was I rendered this rule set, right? So I'm dynamically inserting the IBM identity into this template here, right? So if you go over to the web browser and you click on the network, which I'm already in, and you go down to the flow control rules, you will see, right, these are commented out. So I can uncomment these, right? And I'll undo this. So one of the things you can do on Ethernet networks is tap the network, right? You can, do an Ethernet tap. So we can do that here. And I'll say T, right? And I'll send -1 means all the traffic, right? And I'll send that to the ZeroTier address of the VM on the IBM cloud, right? So let me save the changes there, right? And I can go back to IBM here, and I can run my T-Shark there, right?
Terminal.
Oh, sorry. Transition. IP link. And I will. Okay, so now what I'm doing here, this T-Shark, it should be seeing all the traffic from all the machines on the entire network, right? So if I go to AWS, I say ping-4-C1, I'm going to ping, I don't know, gcp.demo.lab, right? There you go. There you see the DNS query. Let me do it again. Yeah. There's the ping. So I'm pinging from AWS to GCP, and it's showing up in my TCP dump on IBM, right? It's the Alibaba, right? So if same thing, you see the DNS request, and then also the ICMP, right? There's the ARP request, right? So this is perfect for running if you wanted to run an intrusion detection system, right? Let's say you had, an an Internet of Things application, right? And you had like a fleet of credit card swipers deployed across Europe, for example, right? And you wanted to monitor all of their traffic and send them into like a giant box that in a data center somewhere, so you could analyze all the traffic. This is how you do it, right? You will see that you're getting doubles here, right? So let me transition back there, because it was sending, what was showing up there was both the incoming and the outgoing on both of the boxes, right? So a little bit more friendlier is this one. So I can say watch, right? Characteristic inbound traffic, right?
Okay.
So I'll save that, right? And I'll transition back, right? And then I'll run my pings again. Let's do a different cloud. Which one? I've been neglecting one. Let's do Vulture. Do Vulture. Right. Okay, cool. And so boink, boink. There we go. Okay, so I only see the one time then. So the request and the reply. Yep. So yeah, and then you can see the IPv6 neighbor advertisements and stuff coming through there. Yeah. So I've got all of the entire network's Ethernet traffic being sent to one machine, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, and then you can go in here and let me transition back to the thing. Yeah, so we can drop packet. Basically, anything you can do with an Ethernet card. You can drop packets. You can accept packets. You can redirect packets. And watch them, which we've been doing. So if you want to do like a transparent proxy or something, you can just like send packets, right? The rule is pretty robust, right? So we can see ZT source address, ZT destination address, right? Different Ethernet types, right? You can select for, I only want, IPv6 traffic, right? You can do random against a probability for some reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say, you can select for just regular IP source, like 1.1.1.1 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Source port, destination port, all the things you would expect to see like in, a firewall rule set here. Plus some
Sean?
more. Yeah.
Poshkinosh says, maybe I've been cooped up at home too long, but I think this is really cool. So many possible use cases. So you're getting some praise here.
You and me both. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. As far as the rule sets are concerned, let me oh yeah. I'll just do one more thing real quick here. Let me transition back here. What are you seeing here? Okay, cool. So let's get so we did the ARP cache thing in the quick start. Okay, so because we're on this virtual Ethernet switch, right? It does look, smell, and behave like Ethernet, right? So we're on what's my network here? 10.0.0.1, right? So there's nothing stopping me from actually setting other IP addresses on the links, right? So let me go over to the IBM machine, right?
Whoa. That just
What?
made sense. Okay, I just realized what you're about to do. This
Yeah.
is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't prep me for this one.
Yeah. So right. So I can set let me do. Okay. Yeah. So I'll set all these, right. Actually, let me, right. So I'll just give it different, the for right IP adder. Eh. Guess I didn't need that pseudo. Yeah, so you can see a bunch of different IP addresses on it, right? And how do I delete these? DL.
Yep. DO.
Or fuck it, I'll just leave them on there. Watch this. So I can go to AWS, right? Let me let me start a Docker container. I'm going to pull Alpine latest, right? I'll go over here to IBM. I'll do the same container, right? Oh, look, I don't have Screw AWS. Let's go somewhere else. Let's do a different cloud. Let's go to Alibaba.
All right.
Ali. I don't know what's going on with my keyboard today, but I cannot type to save my life. All right. Cool. So I have two containers running on two different clouds. I can say IP link, right? IP adder, right? So I'm going to ping my container IP from this container over here. Ping mesh forward SC1. Cool. That worked.
Nice.
Right? So I've got containers running in my Docker engine on Alibaba, like any cloud, right? Talking to my container, on any other cloud, right? Which happens to be the Kubernetes networking model, right? Your containers should be able to talk to each other. That's the only rule, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I did cheat a little bit to make that happen, right? So if you actually do look at the routes here, I'm running an OSPF daemon on these boxes so that when I create the Docker network, right, the Docker networks can actually advertise their route into the thing. But yeah, I can spin up, like twice as many of these boxes, and this would grow twice as long, right? So containers can just talk to each other, right? And you don't have to, run. Well, I guess we are running an overlay network, right? But yeah, so that works, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So see what else. So I don't want to give the impression that like you have to use Terraform or Ansible or whatever to do these things, right? Like you can totally like have long-lived infrastructure that's like been standing around forever, right? As a matter of fact, let's see here. Let's go Gibson.computers.biz is one of my personal vanity domain names. Yeah. So I went over to, if you look up IBM One, Marist, you can actually do this yourself. Yeah, you can like get yourself an S390, right? With this program that IBM has called IBM One. Yeah, Linux Community Cloud, Linux One Community Cloud. So I did that, right? So if I have ZeroTier, CLI info, right?
Oh, we're seeing your web browser.
Oh, sorry. I knew that was going to happen. Right. So yeah, so ZeroTier runs on mainframes, right? So we got an S390 here. Uname-A.
Did my audience just hear that? This works on mainframes.
So cat proc CPU info. Yep, there's my S390.
There you go.
Right? So if I wanted to join this ZeroTier network here, right?
Immediate follow-up question, Sean. What about PowerArch architecture?
Oh yeah. ZeroTier join this network. Okay. Hold on, let me wait for this to come up.
Works on both S390 and Power. So at Terraform, hang on. This is
here, let me do the Power one. Power.computers.biz. Yeah, and then I'll say ZeroTier CLI join, right? Cat proc CPU info. Got a Power right there. The Power 9 with 16 cores in it, right?
Hey Sean, now you're just showing off.
Yeah, I like to show off, right? I'll name that one Power. What else should I show off? I talked about containers. Let's show off some more. So I got this CD OpenShift here. Look at this one. I got to replace this. So you can run ZeroTier as a sidecar in your Kubernetes, right? And I will say OC apply -F hello, right?
So OpenShift, the enterprise ready Kubernetes instance,
Yeah.
and run ZeroTier also.
So that came up. Let me transition back over here. I'm going to tear down some of this lab so that I have less computers here. I have too many computers in my demo, so I'm like, here, let me get rid of all these freaking things. Let me tear this down so I just have the down.
So Sean, while you're doing that, we have a question saying we're evaluating using ZeroTier versus WireGuard at work, and there are advantages to both. Anything you would say you'd like to say to help move that decision process towards ZeroTier?
Just give them both a try. Like we could talk about the cryptography and stuff here in a minute, but let me complete this thought real quick. I'll leave IBM up here. Terraform. Goodbye. Okay, so I can go back here and I will replace this one. It's on that OpenShift. Cool. It is now authorized. Where's the IP4? Hello. There it is. So we transition back here. So,
So you're on it.
Okay. So here I am curling from an S390, a container running ZeroTier on an OpenShift cluster, and also from the power.
Oh, and that OpenShift cluster is running where?
I don't even know, honestly. Actually, I do. It's running in US East 1. I just logged into redhat.com yesterday and clicked on the try OpenShift for 60 days button, and I followed the instructions, and like 40 minutes later, I had an OpenShift cluster. So, here we go. Let's do another one. So there we go. I have a little hello world ZeroTier HTML thing here. Let's do this one.
Legit. That's legit. Like you bridged an S390 box to a free OpenShift cluster on AWS.
Yeah.
All within this conversation we just had here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Jesus. That's amazing.
Let's see here. Come on up. It takes a second. Let me refresh my web browser here. Where is it? Oh, my Terraform's still running. I really should. Next time I do one of these demos, I'm going to run the Terraform beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Just like confirm it.
I know what I did. I still gave it the old ZeroTier network that I did when I was preparing for this.
Yeah. That's live demos for you. It's all good.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oop. This one in there. Cool. Now I can apply that one. Now I can wait for it to come up because it'll come up with the correct network.
Yay.
Looking at the wrong network. Let's see here. Okay, cool. There it is. All right. I now have that OpenShift container on my network. Give it a second to get an IP address. Cool. So I can curl this one. So where you went from, the Gibson or the power box?
Let's do the S390 because I'm still blown away that it works on S390.
Girl. There you go.
Hey, that's me. Nice.
Yeah, I love me some JP2A. What else can we do with ZeroTier? Let me think about this one. Oh, I have an idea. Let me think here. So, okay, let's do this. So IP adder, right? So I'm on this 10.0.1. So I have a printer next to me, right? So I want to print JJ's face, right? So How do I do that? So I'll say, what's my IP if config here? So I've got myself an Ethernet dongle that's plugged into my laptop here. I'm not a huge Mac expert, so I'm not really sure how to. So normally I would need to turn my Mac into a router, right,
Yeah.
to talk to it, right? So I'd be able to turn my Mac into a router, right? I could set a route to this network in ZeroTier, right, and have the things pick it up. Instead, what I'm going to do, because I don't know how to do that without looking it up, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a bridge, right? So I can actually, let's go over here to this. So back on the S390, so I'll say sudo t shark, actually IP adder, sudo t shark dash I, this one, not port SSH, very important, right? Cool. And then I can go over to my Mac here and I'll say create a bridge. Okay.
Okay.
Password. Oh, wrong password. Okay. So I've created
Hunter
a
3.
bridge. Yeah, that's my password. And then I can say, all right, what's the interface for my ZeroTier network here? It's this one, right? Okay. Yeah. So I'll set that. It's the same MTU. I can add both of these interfaces to the bridge,
Okay.
right? And then, yeah. Up. Huh? Let's go back here. Oh, there we go. So now you can see, yeah, on the S390 box, you'll see that's my Mac kind of looking for, net BIOS things to look at, right? Let's see if I can generate some traffic here. Let's go into system preferences. And, oh, look, I didn't even need to do anything. It just did it. Yeah, so that's just standard multicast DNS traffic that you would see on the same LAN. So this is my apartment, right? So this S390 is now attached to my apartment LAN.
That's
right.
amazing.
Yeah, and but I still can't print, right? So I can share my printer from my laptop, right? Which is one thing, right? So I could turn my laptop into like a print server, right? But if I didn't want to do that, what I can do instead, right, is I can say, okay, what's my IP address here? Okay, so we'll do go back over to the get rid of TCP now. Link. Add an IP of my home subnet to the S390, right?
Okay.
And then I can say curl JJ's face, right? And pipe it to LPR, right? And then hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, all right. It came out negative, but
Still, it's
so congratulations, JJ. You're the first face to be served from an OpenShift cluster and printed from an S390 across the continent and out a printer in Berlin.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
awesome.
yeah, so that's ZeroTier, right? So like I managed to do all that, like while we're sitting here in under an hour, right? Yeah. We got the multi-cloud, we got the Zero Trust, we got the OpenShift, we got the mainframes, we got a printer, right? And yeah, no networking devices were harmed in the production of this demo. Yeah, that's my story, right? So what say you, JJ?
So no, first of all, this is amazing. Like obviously Sean and I prepped for a little bit of this, but he showed me some stuff he didn't tell me about, and I'm genuinely blown away. This is amazing. But I do want to just kind of touch a couple things because we just hit the top of the hour. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat and we'll try to answer them real time here. But I do have two things that I think we should just reiterate.
Okay.
First of all, the IoT story. Does this work on like Raspberry Pis?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
mentioned something about a router earlier. Are there specific routers this works on?
Download. So if you go to downloads.zerotier.com, where is my web browser? Transition downloads. Not DAO. Downloads. Okay. Yeah. So we got packages for all the Debian main Z ZeroTier. Jesus, come on. Okay. Yeah. So we got AMD 64 ARM with the hardware floating point and without it, right? i386, PPC 64. Raspberry Pis, ARMs. We got MIPS. We run a MikroTik. We run a MikroTik router.
Yes. I hear good things about those routers. That's supported.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They come. They pre-installed the ZeroTier now, right? Like they did that. Yeah, when you buy a MikroTik, it's got ZeroTier on it now for select models. I'm not really sure. You'd have to go to their website, but yeah, like we're on MikroTik, which is great, right? Because you can have like two physical sites, right?
Nice.
Configure them, have ZeroTier on them, right? Configure them as bridges, right? And then just kind of bridge your networks together, right? Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
This is phenomenal. It's truly is. Awesome.
We transition back.
That's so funny. It's so funny.
I'm definitely getting one of those boxes you were telling me about, JJ.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they're actually kind of hard to find. You need to like order one. It might be on a wait list, believe it or not. Awesome. Well, we're seeing some good conversation coming. I think we're at the top of the hour. If no one else has anything, I think we'll just wrap up. You have any last words, Sean?
No, I just wanted to say, please send us feedback. The last couple of years have been a drought for feedback. Contact us. Visit our website, zerotier.com/IBM. Tweet at us at ZeroTier. Send us all the feedback that you can. We want to hear it all. Questions, comments, complaints, concerns, right? Send it our way. That's all I wanted to say.
And I think this really does wrap up this whole talk right here. Running ZeroTier on OpenShift and mainframes is damn impressive.
Yeah.
All right, Sean.
Cool.
Say bye.
Well,
bye, Sean.
Thank you very much, JJ. Yep. Bye. Yep.
Bye, everybody.